Denise Katrina Matthews was born on January 4th, 1959, to her mother, Helga Sinek, and her father, Lavia James Matthews. Her mom was from Germany, and her dad was African American, and he was from North Carolina. She also had two sisters, and it's not a lot known about her childhood, but she did do an interview back in the day where she said that her dad abused her a lot for 15 years, and that caused her to have a negative self-image and low self-esteem. She was also quoted as to say, "I wish I could see my father in heaven, but I won't. He's in hell." And this would cause Vanity to want to get away from the abusive home life she was suffering from. So she eventually just moved to Toronto, where she began to model. And she also entered beauty pageants as well. And in 1977, she won the Miss Niagara Hospitality title. And she also went on to compete for the Miss Canada title in 1978. But she wanted to further her modeling career and have a bigger platform to do it. So what she did was she ended up moving to New York City. And when she moved to New York City, she signed with a modeling agency. But see, the thing is, Vanity was 5'6". So she really wasn't that tall. She was very beautiful, but she wasn't tall. And we all know they like the models to have a little height on them. So what ended up happening was she ended up doing a lot of commercials and photo shoots and things like that. But she really didn't get on the runway in New York. And that's what she was striving for, but it never happened. But what did happen for her was she started to kind of get more roles in more B level movies. She was in a movie called The Terror Train, in 1980. And she also did this one movie, man. It's called Tanya's Island. Now, y'all can go check this out if you want. I kind of looked up a little information on it. It was a very weird movie, to say the least. You can look at this picture that I have up and see just how weird it got. But during these times, she was going by the name of Dee Dee Winters. And this is also around the same time that she met Prince, because she actually was dating Rick James. And let me give y'all a little backstory on this, man. Rick James and Prince had a real bad rivalry. You know what I'm saying? Back in those days, they was battling for the king of funk. And Rick James had took Vanity to the American Music Awards as his date. And at the American Music Awards, Prince ended up taking Vanity from Rick James. Their rivalry was that petty. But let me get a little deeper into it. He also took Vanity and made her into the group Vanity 6. That was Rick James's idea, to have a trio of females that were kind of more cutting edge, going away from the Supreme days. But Prince took that idea and did it with Vanity. And that's why Rick James responded with the Mary Jane Girls, just to give y'all a little backstory on that. And also the whole Vanity name, the whole image of Vanity, that came from Prince. She did an interview where she said that she never wanted that. She said she wanted to be more like the Diana Ross type, but Prince wanted her to be more sexy. And she said in order for her to get paid, she had to do what he said. So she stayed with him for the next few years and released one album with the group Vanity 6. And they had a modest hit with the single Nasty Girl. But right after that, Vanity left the group. She left Prince as a whole. Actually, she was supposed to be in the Purple Rain movie. Y'all know the role that Apollonia played? That was actually for Vanity, but after her and Prince fell out, they ended up giving the role to Apollonia. But Vanity would land on her feet because she ended up being taken under the wing of Berry Gordy, the CEO of Motown Records. And, they put some money behind Vanity, trying to make her into a big star. And she released two albums. In 1984, she released an album called Wild Animal. And in 1986, she released an album called Skin on Skin. Now, both of those albums kind of had moderate success, but it wasn't nothing too major. She did have an underground hit with the song called Seventh Heaven, and that's when she was on the Last Dragon soundtrack in 1985. And that was her first big role, and probably the role that she's most known for, where a lot of dudes, really fell in love with Vanity. I know I did. And she also did a lot of other movies after that. She did one called Never Too Young to Die with John Stamos. And she also did one called 52 Pickup and did another underground classic, Action Jackson. That's one of my favorites too. But as the 80s came to a close, the movie roles they kind of started drying up for Vanity, and she never released another album. She ended up getting dropped from Motown Records, and the only thing she was really doing was like a lot of guest appearances on different TV shows. She wasn't really getting those, big time mainstream roles that she was getting a few years prior. And this is also about the same time where she started dating like real rock and roll dudes. Like she dated Billy Idol, and she was engaged to a dude that was in the group Motley Crue, and his name was Nikki Sixx. He actually wrote a book, and he had a section in there talking about his relationship with her, and he would just say how they pretty much did drugs 24/7, heroin, cocaine, whatever. And actually, Vanity ended up getting hooked on crack cocaine about this time, and she stayed hooked on crack for years to come. And she was just dealing with her career not going the way, she wanted it to go. And I'm sure the trauma that she experienced as a young girl and drove her to that deep drug addiction. But in 1992, she decided that she wanted to make a change. And that's when she became a born again Christian. And she explained that she wanted to get away from the vanity image. That's why she said she wasn't taking any more like sexual type roles or vixen type roles. She said she didn't want to do that no more, and she wanted to give her life to God. But old habits die hard. So she was still fighting those demons of drug addiction. And actually, in 1994, she ended up going to the hospital and she was on life support for 3 days from a drug overdose from her crack addiction. And she said that the doctor told her, like, you got 3 days to live and it's over. And she said during that time, she had a conversation with God and said, like, if you give me a second chance, I'll give my life to you. And that's exactly what she did. She began to work as an evangelist pastor out in San Jose. And she also ended up marrying NFL player Anthony Smith, who played for the Oakland Raiders. And the way that they met was kind of funny. She said she was reading a newspaper and read about the things he was doing in the community, and she said that God told her to go meet him, and she did. And within 1 month of meeting each other, they were married. But that relationship ain't last too long, man. They said there was a lot of violence and things like that going on, and she actually dodged a bullet with this guy because after they separated, he ended up getting convicted of murder, 3 murders. So she dodged a bullet with him, but she was continued to be blessed because in 1997 she ended up getting a kidney transplant. And that gave her the strength to really dedicate her life to God full time. And that's exactly what she did, man. She would go all over the United States and all over the world, speaking about God and things like that. She actually wrote an autobiography in 2010, and it's called Blame It on Vanity, Hollywood, Hell and Heaven. And in that book, she talks about how she got rid of a lot of the things that had to do anything to do with vanity. Like when she had that persona back in the day, she said she didn't want no royalties from it. She threw away like personal items that Prince had gave to her and things like that. She really didn't want nothing to do with that type of life at all, and she was really dedicated to God. But unfortunately, she ended up being admitted to the hospital in Fremont, California in 2016. And on February 15th, 2016, she passed away due to kidney failure. So, the kidney finally gave out, but you know what? She did what she wanted to do. She did what she promised God she would do if she got a second chance. So I believe that when Miss Denise passed, that she was actually at peace, and she was actually able to tell her friends what she wanted to have done with her body after she passed. And she wanted her ashes to be scattered on the coast of Hawaii, and she wanted them to celebrate her life. And she was only 57 years old when she died. Rest in peace, Queen.